It's 10:03. If you could bear with us, Camden Properties, while we open up this meeting, and then we can make it available for whomever on your team wishes to take the floor and present your plan for the Stevens Mills project. So with that said, if we could all just say the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll get underway. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you again. All right. So Bill has control of the controls of the Zoom meeting today. If indeed we take any votes today on any items, according to the Economic Development Committee, we will have to take a roll call. I don't foresee taking votes today, but at any rate, I just wanted to outline Governor Baker's requirements of these type of meetings. So with that said, I don't know who on the Camden property presentation would like to take the floor. Could you please introduce yourself, and then Bill can give you share the screen.
Yes, good morning. This is John Gumper. I'm with Camden and one of the members of the development team for the Stevens Mill.
All right. So Bill, can you would you like Bill to share the controls, or Bill, do you want to bring up the presentation?
I'm trying.
Okay.
Brian and I had it working a few minutes ago. Why don't you go ahead, John, and I'll try to get this screen share working.
Okay, so what we've shared with everyone is the latest set of progress drawings that we've.
Excuse me, John. Could you hold a minute?
Sure.
Bill, could you start the recording?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, perfect. All right, sorry, John. I just wanted to. We have to have these recorded.
Okay, so first, good morning to everyone. Thanks for having us on. We have sent to you our latest iteration of drawings for the mill. We've pretty well segmented the building into the uses that we're looking at. But first, we start with the site plan, and I think one of the one of the highlights that I would point out is its proximity to the river. We're really going to try to use the river as an amenity for the project. Right now, the river's somewhat hidden. We hope to really focus on that. The drawing that you've got up is our first floor of the mill and how it's separated into uses. There's been some discussion in the past about numbers of 3-bedroom units and so forth. I think if you look at our unit mix, it's mainly studio, 1-bedroom, and some 2-bedroom. So it's not it's consistent with other loft style developments we've done in the past. Not so much a family project, more of a young professional. You can see where this drawing here highlights some of the public area. And so we have an event center, and then it spills over into some of the main building.
Where's the event center, John?
If you're, it's the purple box over to the far right of the drawing, where you have your hand on it now, or whatever the pointer is.
Okay, over here?
A little further to your right. There you are.
Okay.
Event space. And then that's the main event space. It spills over to kind of a multi-use event space, and then up to what could be a tap room or something like that. Those would be the public spaces. And as I say, we've had success on a number of different mills with these type of spaces.
Hey, excuse me, John. Could you give us like the street view? Is this all existing structure? or is there any additions, or I'm just trying to get my bearings here?
There are no additions. Well, I take that back. We are adding a second floor on one of the wings, or maybe it's a third floor. That looks like it was there in the past, but beyond that, we're leaving the building as is.
Right.
And we are using historic tax credits, so we're revitalizing the building based on the historic requirements. So we really don't have the choice of making many changes to the building itself.
Okay. Here we go. Here's a good view here.
Yeah, that's a nice view. So in any event, you know, we've made some real progress on the planning stages for the mill, and we're excited to be moving forward with it, even given the circumstances that that the COVID has presented everybody. There's a lot of indecision in the market, but we really feel strongly about this project.
Very nice.
Here's the site plan. John, do you want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, you know, I think the big thing to me is the building itself is so prominent that's what you see, but another real benefit is its proximity to the river. You can see the old hydro plant that went through and the tail race that feeds into the river. We're going to try to really capture that as an amenity to the development. You can see the various public entry event space entries. So we're still playing with that some, but you know, we feel like this building really lays out well for the purpose that we're trying to do.
Are there any hiking trails, John, as part of this project that go to the river?
You can see they've shown a hiking trail down towards the river. That hasn't really been thought completely through or developed, but we will have a hiking trail down there.
Down here, you mean,
We will
sort
have
of?
somebody using the river.
I see an overlook here.
That's right. And I won't tell you that those are perfectly thought out, but we are going to perfectly think out a way to use the river. We're going to take
Okay.
advantage of that.
I see. So here's another walking path going this way.
Yeah.
Oh, so it looks like the the project has, you know, the creation and the use of the land for its own parking purposes. None of the neighbors' parking would be utilized in this. The other folks nearby.
Yeah, that's the thought.
Yep. That's good.
Now there's a pretty good sized parking lot next to us. So if we had some public event at a time where their lot was not full, we would probably have some shared parking there.
Yeah. And then, so there's only one entry, one drive-in entry off of this street here.
That's right.
Yeah.
Here?
Yeah.
And you know, when we get into fire access, we may make some modifications to that. We'll have to see.
Yeah. Okay.
So
John, how many parking spaces per unit are you proposing?
Honestly, I'm not quite sure. Probably 1.75, but I don't know for sure.
What do you think it will be in terms of the actual demand by the people that are going to move here?
I would think 1.5 might be the demand, and this because the units themselves are small. You have very few 2 bedrooms and really no 3 bedrooms.
Mhm.
A lot of studio and a lot of small 1 bedrooms. So I think 1.5 is probably what we'd be looking at.
Okay. Yeah, I would think a project like this would not require a lot of parking.
And we really have a mix of ages that end up here. So you have some retired as well as some young professional. And I think that's what our market study points out.
Are there any environmental issues involved with the project? Any brownfields or materials inside the building that need to be cleaned up?
No, they're not. We've done an extensive, there have been a number of studies in the past, and we've done current studies to prove out and fill whatever data gaps that we're missing. So we really don't have an environmental cleanup on this project.
That's pretty unusual for a building this old and for what it was used for.
Yeah, it is unusual. Most of the other projects that I'm involved with, we have much more cleanup than on this one. But most of the cleanup is achievable. It's not, it generally doesn't stop the project. We deal with some very contaminated projects, and it just adds a couple of years to the development. This one is clean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good question, John. How long would this project take?
Well, we are hoping to get it to a closing in the first quarter of next year. And so that means we've got to get, all the permitting done. We've got to get our historics complete, which we're going in for now. We've got to get our equity partners lined up and our financing partners lined up, but we think we can do that. And then it takes about 18 months to complete the construction and the development.
John or Steve, do you want to talk about the zoning bylaw amendment you have coming up at town meeting?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm Stephen Madaus. I'm an attorney at Myrick O'Connell in Worcester, representing Camden Properties. And we've been at this for a while. First, thanks to the EDC for having us here this morning. It's obviously a very exciting project. It's a beautiful mill building. So the first consideration we had was that, as you may be aware, there's a mill reuse overlay district that encompasses this property. And it has a requirement for affordable housing units to make use of that overlay district. Our proposal is for market rate housing. So working with town council and the town planner, the proposal was to modify the existing bylaw to allow for a waiver of the requirement for affordable units. And the procedure for that waiver is that it will go before the selectmen first, and the selectmen would make a recommendation to the planning board, and then the planning board may act to waive that requirement for a percentage of affordable units. The second aspect of the overlay district for the reuse of the mill property required a mixed use components, that it couldn't be entirely residential. It had to have some commercial component or other non-residential components. And our original proposal was for all market rate apartments. And so to provide some flexibility, the proposal is to amend the zoning bylaw to allow for the same waiver procedure from that requirement for mixed use. Now, we might have some commercial components, so we don't know yet whether we'll seek that waiver, but at least the bylaw now with the proposed amendments would be a lot more flexible for the developer, but also with plenty of oversight by the town, with the Board of Selectmen giving its consideration, and then the planning board ultimately granting or voting on the waiver. And also the bylaw requires a special permit, so that's a 2/3 vote of the planning board to approve the project. But those amendments will be before town meeting, whenever town meeting might occur in the times we're in. But I think they're reasonable amendments. We would hope the EDC would be in favor of those, because they just provide greater flexibility for a developer with plenty of oversight by the town as to granting those waivers or considering those waivers.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's good. Thank you, Steve.
Yep.
Hey, John, has this property already been acquired?
It has not, but we have it tied up. So we have it under control. We had to get through the environmental concerns before actually acquiring the property, and we're close to that now.
Mhm. Good.
Has there been any discussion about the additional traffic on that side street right there? I'm just, this Ardlock place, and is there anybody brought up, or has there been any conversations about the traffic? And I'm just,
We have not done a traffic study. My experience with projects similar to this project and larger is they don't really impact the traffic by much.
okay.
So I think we could certainly, if it's part of the permitting process, if we need to have a traffic study, we can certainly do that. But my experience tells me that it's not really going to show up as much of an issue.
Okay.
I do believe there is a requirement for a traffic study, John, once you get into the special permit process.
Right, and that's no problem. We're used to doing that, but I don't have a real concern that we'll run into a problem there.
Okay.
All right.
John, I have one question. So the section 7, 6, 11, all those sections, those are parking spots, right? Parking spaces?
Yes, these are the number of spaces, these numbers.
I'm only asking because my office is right on that corner here, Mill Street, and I'm literally looking through the window at the Stevens. So my office is right on the Ardlock and across of Main Street right here, below the number 7. That's where our office is with all our parking spaces. So we're literally facing all of, so that's good. So that's, yeah, okay. So that's what it is.
Right.
All the parking spaces.
So we've captured all the parking on our property, so we're not looking at off-site parking.
Yeah. We're right on the other side of the Mill Street. So there wouldn't be possibility anyways, but that's good. Thank you. And those units, are they for rent or for sale? I missed that part.
They are for rent. Now they may turn into condos at some point, but they're for rent for the first 10 years anyway.
Okay.
How many units again, John?
I think we're at 164.
164.
Single and two bedroom, right, John, I think? Is that mixed?
It's a studio, 1 bedroom and 2 bedrooms. And the unit mix itself is on the cover page of the drawings.
This is very exciting.
Yeah, it is
And I
very
think
exciting.
the great thing is, I will tell you, it's a beautiful building, obviously. Everybody can see that. It's well located. Everybody loves that. The fact that we've got a demand study that supports it is really, to me, critical, because that's the whole key. If you've got demand, then it's worthwhile. So that's what we proved out originally.
Okay,
So
good.
we have a pretty set way of going about analyzing these properties and deciding what to do and what not to do. I'm just thrilled that this one checks the boxes.
Hey, John, so if you're able to get the waiver for market rate only, what will the rent prices be for each of the 3 property units?
So we have a demand study that set the rents at what I think, if I remember right, was about $1,200 a unit. Maybe somewhere between $1,100 and $1,250. That demand study is generally pretty accurate. So I think that's what we would fall back to. So that's as much information as we have now. I did take the demand study and run it by a local property management company who would manage the asset for us, and they concurred with the rents. So I believe that's a reasonable projection of where we'd be.
Okay.
And it's
meaning that a studio would be the same price as a 2-bedroom?
No. Studio would be at the low end of the range, and 2-bedroom would be at the high end of the range.
Okay.
And I don't have the demand study with me, but I think, you know, it was somewhere in the low 1,200 to 1,400, something like that.
Okay.
But, and by the way, it's a market analyst that I've used on numerous projects, and they've been fairly consistent and accurate over time.
Good.
All right. Any other?
I'll share with everybody on the developments we've done in the past and why we're so sold on this type of a development is it makes a dramatic difference in the spillover effect to the neighboring area. I mean, it acts as a catalyst to bring up the area, and the redevelopment really causes a lot more redevelopment. So it's been a lot of fun to do these projects. And it's honestly why I'm so passionate about them.
All right. So any other questions from the Economic Development Committee?
I do not.
Oh,
I have one.
oh, all right, hold on. Barbara, go ahead.
Just quickly. So this is a very close proximity to the Dudley Lake on my side of the, you know, what I see it. Would the Dudley Lake be somehow impacted by it? When you say about a spillover to area and all those things, would that affect the properties right on the lake, right across the street from the Stevens Mill? You think?
Well, the spillover is almost a community-wide occurrence. I mean, it just lifts the values and lifts the participation of all the neighboring properties. So when we do our development, people start fixing their properties up or what have you. So it's really been a fun process to be part of in many different communities. But I can assure you it's only been positive. But it's great. I mean, it's great to watch.
It is exciting.
Economics.
Finally.
Yeah. Well, that's a common comment because these mills sit vacant for so long that when you do finally get them back into active, productive life, it's great to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I also can't stress enough that the public events center that we put in also brings the community to the property. So it's not an apartment complex with a fence around it. It's a, you know, an active part of the community. And that's proven to be successful in the past.
Oh, okay. So the public event facility that you will have on the grounds, that will be accessible for all the Dudley residents?
That's right.
Oh, so that's great. Super.
So if you have a wedding you want to have, people like to go to cool places to have weddings, that's the place to do it. If you want to have meetings and things like that, it's a place to, and so it brings life into the community beyond just the residents living there.
Mm-hmm.
So.
John, I had a question. Is it Camden Properties' intention to develop and to manage this property moving forward?
We will develop the property for sure moving forward. We will not manage it. We'll hire a third party to manage the property for us.
Okay.
But we are looking to own it long term.
Okay. That's kind of the intention of my question. Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
One other issue, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yep.
We are also exploring, as they run the numbers, whether, since this is the EDC, right?
Yes.
Whether we'll be pursuing any local, and you know, a tax increment finance agreement is not available for housing in Dudley. It's available in gateway communities under the general laws, but so we don't know what vehicle might be available to us if it's needed to close a gap. You know, in communities like, outside of 128, communities like Worcester, well, in Worcester County, it's difficult to get the return. That's why you see mills tend to sit without the kind of investment that's proposed here. So we don't know what form that might be yet and the extent of it, but that's also under consideration. So I just want to raise that issue because it's not known yet the extent.
Stephen, we've actually made a proposal. I don't know. So we've made one run at the tax abatement or an idea.
So it may be in the form of a special tax assessment agreement, if that's available, an STA for this project. But I didn't want to, have the meeting end without that topic being put out there. That it may be necessary to close a gap to make the project, the investment what everyone hopes it would be to make the best project available for the town.
Yeah. Are you talking to the town manager on that avenue as well?
Yes, I've spent a lot of time with town council trying to explore. There really isn't any economic incentive for market rate housing that's readily available if you're not in a gateway community, which Dudley is not. So whether it be a special act to make that available for this property, or we're exploring whether an STA agreement, special tax assessment, is available through the EDC, the EACC, under the Mass Office of Business Development. I haven't had conversations with the town manager, maybe John has, but other than the first one, but I've been working mostly with town council.
Okay.
And I did have a few conversations early on, but that's what we've done so far.
Yeah, I think until the numbers are better known, I don't think we don't have a frame of it yet.
Right. Yeah, no, it's good to bring it up and get everybody talking about it and see where it goes from here.
Yeah.
I think we got to get over the town meeting type thing and see where everybody thinks, right?
Right. It's interesting that the Commonwealth makes it available for gateway communities. You have to have a certain population. Dudley's doesn't reach that threshold, that it's available under the general laws for those gateway communities, but not for a town. I don't know.
Huh. Yeah. No, that's a new distinction to me.
Yeah, it's chapter 40V of the general laws.
Okay.
Is the housing incentive for gateway communities. But if you look at the definition of gateway communities, Dudley doesn't qualify. So as I said, town council and myself, we're exploring what would be the most readily available vehicle, if any, for a proposal.
Okay.
And then if we identify that, then the numbers will be presented or negotiated,
Yeah. And that gap is created because of the financing that's available for this area?
Yeah. Well, my experience is, John could probably speak to this better than I could, but when you get outside of 128, you can't get the rents that support the investment for a project of, this scale and the age of this building.
Every historic redevelopment we've done, we've had property tax abatement of some form.
Okay.
And it's been fairly easy to do because we've just been able to reference the last project we did and what they did.
Yeah.
So we found that to be fairly easy to get done.
Okay.
And it's for a period of time, and then so the tax base starts out low, but then gradually increases back up to a full tax rate.
Yeah, that's an important point. The public should be aware it's not an investment of tax dollars by the town. It's just the forbearance of the collection,
Right.
so that the investment goes into the property, and when the term ends, the entire property is assessed for the full value, which has been enhanced by that investment that was foregone under the agreement.
Okay.
So it's an important source for the financing, but like Stephen says, it does go away.
Okay. Is there any, as you do the development, will you be trying to secure tenancies or businesses as you go through the development? Or is it just all development, you open the door and then you start renting it out?
No, we'll start leasing, 5 months or so before we open it.
Okay,
And we'll certainly explore, some commercial avenues. If there's someone that wants to run a tap room or what have you, if it makes sense, then we'll start looking at that. But typically, a commercial venue will want to see it leased up, and then once it's leased up, then they'll make a decision as to does it make something they want to add to. But we'll be leasing up 5 months before we open it.
okay. Oh, just curious on your business. Yep.
Model.
All right. Any other questions? Anybody have any comments, questions, before we can move on the rest of our agenda for today?
Oh, I'm good.
One more. On the percentage of affordable units, do we know what a percentage that will be?
We're looking at doing all market rate.
All market rate.
Yeah.
All market rate.
I believe, Barbara, there's a requirement for 10% affordable in the bylaw. And that would be the point of the town meeting article, was to allow the planning board to waive that requirement.
Okay, thank you.
All right, John Gumpert, on your behalf, I mean, is there something you'd like from the Economic Development Committee? What would be, your ask of us?
My ask of you is just support of the project. We like to come in and develop a project that the town wants. We have the history of going into towns and producing great projects, but it starts with the support of the town. They have to be supportive of the type of project we're talking about. And once we have that, then we go to the next step and keep going. And the great news is I've got plenty of towns you can talk to that can attest to the projects we built and what they've actually done for those towns, which has been really quite nice. So,
Okay.
I appreciate everybody's hard work. It takes everybody's work to get one of these done.
Yeah.
And I certainly appreciate everybody's time and efforts on that.
Yeah, no, we appreciate your continued interest. We know it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of people all interested. This group from this committee has been literally working on doing something with this site Barbara and Mark and Todd and myself. We've been talking and working on this for years.
Right.
So, you can imagine that, of course, we're excited and don't, make sure you walk away that this group is very excited about the prospect that we're talking about today. So I don't want to talk, out of place for the rest of the committee, but what I'll do is, we'll come back and we'll discuss this, what we've heard today. And, I would propose to the group, John, is, we would put something together on Dudley letterhead on our, our feelings and our endorsement, and provide it to you or to your council as our support. But I want to make sure that I have unanimous, support for doing that. And, we won't drag our feet. Okay.
We'll do the same.
All right.
Also, if you could, we'd appreciate as well if you could be in favor of the zoning amendment that's proposed. If you take a look at that,
Okay.
we'd appreciate that, because that's just the first piece, that gets us on the road.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the zoning is viable for us to support. I think the tax abatement, I might be sticking my nose out way too far, but I'll be happy, just be
Probably
honest.
premature now, but we'll see how that looks.
Yeah. No, if you, just lay it out on the table, but, yeah, we'll talk about the zoning abatement and the actual design and how it's structured. But I think it looks, from my vantage point, it looks very, very exciting. And we'll do whatever we can to support the project for sure.
I certainly we all appreciate that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks, folks.
thank you for being
Thank you
here.
very much.
Yep, have a good day. Yep. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
All right, well, I don't know how to do this.
Should be a leave meeting at the bottom.
I see the leave meeting. I'm not sure
Yeah,
how.
just click it.
Okay, that makes sense.
There you go. All right.
Boom. All right, good.
Oh, you're still here, John.
All right, well.
I think I can remove you, John.
Good. If you can remove me, that'd be super.
Then Andrew Weddle, is that who's that? I don't recognize that name. Oh, there he goes. I think we're good. I think Gabe is still here, which is Gabe, if you don't mind, I think we're good. If you're good.
Yep, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, Gabe, have a good day.
Yeah, you too.
Yep, thank you. All right, well, there you go. There's the project. So I don't know.
Very exciting.
Yeah, I want to get each of your input and kind of give me an idea if you would support or not the project, and I'd like all your input.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's long overdue. I'm very interested. It seemed when he had talked about the rents, I think he had first said 1,100 to 1,250, which I thought that they would be for 2 bedrooms more than that. But I think it's just going to do a lot. I think it would be great to have some commercial space there as well. I didn't really chime in too much, and I don't know if they had already said it because I didn't want to come across as a nosy banker. But in regards to what the total project cost and, what the investment that they're going to be, I don't know if that was in what they had already sent us. I didn't have a chance to look at it. But I'm very, very much excited about it, and I would be, unless other information comes up, I'd be behind it, 100%.
Yeah. All right. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, my feeling is I think that it's very well thought out, and I think that it fits Dudley pretty well. I think they put a lot of thought in the size of the units. If you have a 3 and 4 bedroom unit, you attract a lot of children, and I have nothing against children. I have 3 of them of my own. But obviously, what sort of impact that has on a small town like ours is schools and a number of other things. And so I think that the type of person that they're trying to attract here is certainly positive in that, for future development of our community, but also to not utilize all the resources of our community, such as schools, et cetera. I also think that the price point that they're targeting, and I heard the same thing as you, Todd. Initially, he said 11 to 12, and then when he continued to talk about it, he ended up being somewhere around 14. So
Right.
I think for a 2 bedroom, if he's at 14 and the studio he's at 12, I think that's really a really good place to be. I've got several apartment buildings myself personally, but I would never, share that with the developers. I think many of you guys know that already, but my rents are below that price point anyway. So, just as an investor in the town, I kind of look at it and say, that I just think they've really done their homework, and it does a lot of very positive things for the community. So that's my input.
Sorry to chime in again, but what was the name of the attorney from Merrick O'Connell?
Stephen Madaus, Madaus.
Okay, thank you.
do you think, Barbara?
What I think, I'm very excited, but I'm very skeptical because we have seen people coming in and talking all about, you know, developing the Stevens Mill, and that have never happened. So I'm hoping, you know, something will happen sometime soon. I like the fact that they all 100%, you know, the market rate value apartments. I'm a little concerned, you know, we insure a lot of people across the, you know, street on the lake side. You know, and there was a lot of talk about storage and all that. So, you know, we'll see as we progress. But as the project on its own, I'm very excited about. I really like the facility, you know, that he spoke about the public event facilities that will be available for the Dudley residents. We don't have anything like that, you know, except some stuff going on Nichols College grounds. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to getting all the, you know, new people to the town to boost up the economy. I really like the commercial, the mixed use that he spoke about, you know, hopefully getting some restaurants going. I'm excited, but I'm also skeptical. I won't believe it until I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my 10 cents.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, PJ.
I
What do you
mean,
think?
not much more to add. I think it's exciting that there could be something happening there. That's really exciting. I'm worried about the traffic impact, just because it's such a. But ultimately, if that gets redesigned somehow or another, that's an excellent win for us as well. I know there's been a lot of, as there always will be, a lot of chatter on Facebook and those kind of forums from the townspeople. Very skeptical, very worried about the impact. Mark, you just were talking about on the local schools and the lack of income that coming in for such a big property, but you know, it sits there and it's barren and it's beautiful. It really is a beautiful site. So I think the long term, we got to be in it for the long game, right? Like the long game.
Right.
It's such a win for our community. So
Right. Without a doubt, it's going to change Dudley.
mm-hmm.
Right. And you know, it's the change and Dudley's changing now because nobody's developing that space, right?
Yeah.
It's continuing to go down. So you're either living or you're dying. In this case, we're dying with the current condition. So you gotta, you know, what horse you want to ride, right? Is the decision that the town's gonna have to make.
And
yep, go ahead, Todd.
oh, sorry. The gentleman had mentioned from Camden Properties that, you know, they obviously they're very well known. They have a track record. They have towns that they've done similar, renovations. You know, I'm wondering if, like, you know, if we do have contacts at some of the more recent, you know, towns, just to get some, you know, feedback from them as to say, like, okay, in regards to not just like how were they in regards to coming in and completing the project. My guess is 18 months, and that thing, you know, like that seems very reasonable. But just, yeah, what kind of impact after it was done, after it was, if it was, you know, leased up, and what actually happened after it was completed, you know, and what kind of impact did it have economically to their town? You know, just be very interested to see something, you know, recently, you know, that they've done that we could maybe just get a little bit of feedback from.
Yeah,
That's a
I
great
thought the
idea.
same thing.
Bill, is that something that, or do you have contact with these folks? Obviously you do, John.
Sure.
You invited them. Could you get some references, maybe projects that are 5 to 10 years old?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
And
I'll contact him and, yeah, see what he's got.
yeah, get us a few anyways. And, you know, if he's got them, I mean, if he's got 1 or 2 or as many as he can share, that is of
Okay.
that, maybe even older. I don't know how long these guys have been developing, but and then we can,
for a while.
yeah, then we can figure out, you know, how to, you know, inquire and get some feedback, as Todd pointed out. So
Mhm.
Sure, I'll get some references and pass them on. I think it might be useful for the members to make those calls and ask those other towns how it's worked out for them.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I think,
Especially if they're looking for our support on these items when they bring to the planning board and to the, to the town meetings, that we can say, as a committee, if we vote that we're all in favor of it, we can just, we can say, yeah, we've done our due diligence and done a little bit of checking, and just to have a little bit more weight to our vote.
yeah.
Did I hear him correctly that there was very little contamination at the site? That seems a miracle in and of itself.
Yeah, that's a miracle.
That's, what I'm talking about too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey.
That surprised me too.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll hold off, doing any, letter or anything from this committee until we get the references at a minimum, right? And then the thing is when's the town meeting? Because I'd like to.
June 22nd.
So we really, should have our position wrapped up before that meeting.
Absolutely.
Is that a good milestone? Everybody agree?
That would be good. Yep.
So June 22nd, that means we have one more meeting before that meeting, right? So I just want to make sure that, we got our ducks in a row here. Yeah, so the 16th of June would be our next meeting. So maybe we'd have to, I would like us to come to that meeting prepared, which means we'd actually already called the references. That would be my thought. I don't know how you guys feel about that. But so Bill, if you could get the references and then we can group chat, we can group, or we can have a emergency meeting. Well, we can talk about it between now and the next meeting. But I'd like to come to that meeting prepared with, discussing and having a recorded meeting of this type, talking about what we found out, sharing it, and then coming with a final conclusion at the end of that meeting that would either draft a letter or not in support or whatever that letter would look like, right?
Sounds good.
Okay. So that's, I'm all set with talking about the property. I think it was a great suggestion on your part, Bill, and thanks for inviting them to give their presentation. It was the first time I've seen it, so it was very,
great.
very useful. So, what else? I got to kind of have a hard stop here at 11. I just trying to look here. What else we could cover?
So Brian, I did send the minutes that you had requested. I don't know if you want to vote on those, or if we don't have, do we have the ability to do that this way?
We could bring it up as an item and the roll call would be taken, right? And then we could vote, right? We could vote individually. So I don't know. Did you send those? Did I get them?
Yeah, I got them.
Yeah, I got him.
All right. So I'm sure that, Oh, okay. Here we go. We got them. There they are.
Yeah, so we can do that. I can also give you a quick update on the town video if you want.
Yeah,
that's up to you.
Yeah, so let's bring up, does anybody, I would like to motion to approve the meeting minutes as written for the January 21st, 2020 Economic Development Committee meeting. Does anybody, how does, Mark, how do you vote?
Yes, I vote approve.
Okay, PJ?
Approved.
Todd?
Approved.
Barbara?
Approved.
Any comments?
Nope.
I motion to approve those meetings as written.
Hmm.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Mark seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, those, January 21st, 2020 meeting minutes are approved as written. I would also like to ask for a roll call on the February 18th, 2020 meeting minutes as written. Mark, how do you vote?
Approved. Mark Marziotti, aye.
PJ?
Approved.
Todd?
Approved.
Approved.
Barbara approved. Okay. Anybody no disapproves? Any comments?
Nope.
All right. I move to approve the meeting minutes of February 18th, 2020 as written. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mark seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Abstain? Nay? All right. Those meetings are approved as written for February 18th, 2020. Thank you very much. All right. Let's see, on to the next item. Mark, if you want to give an update to the video.
Yeah, so some time ago, Joanne and I did meet, and it was some time ago because PJ had taken the liberty to give us the ability to use the room at Nichols, and that time frame has since expired. But I don't think we were really in a position to utilize that at that point. However, the discussion that Joanne and I had was that she was going to send out, first of all, we had, a very positive discussion with Todd, who happens to be, a member of the economic development, and he was very much in favor, thought that it was a good idea, and, to start with banking, and that he would certainly, he and his company, Bank Hometown, would be interested in participating. But Joanne and I had agreed to reach out to just some other banks as well, just to speak with them and, confirm that they're, that they had interest and if they had any particular questions or what have you. And so, let's see, she reached out to, looks like Webster 5, Webster First, as well. And again, they were all on board with doing this. And now, especially with, kind of the state that we are in at this point, I think that it's probably even more important than it was before to begin this process. So looks like we have the topic, we have the industry. Now it's just a matter of kind of pulling the rest of it together. And again, I know that puts PJ kind of on the spot, especially in light of kind of things opening up as quickly or slowly as they are. So that's where we're at. I guess we're really kind of ready to take the next step. We've identified the people. And so, PJ, I don't know if you have had or in a position to maybe give us an update on, where we're at as far as the ability to use that room.
I honestly don't have an update. Our campus is currently closed, so
Okay.
I would take probably a week or so for me to figure that out.
All right.
Just to see what resources are around.
Yep.
It was about a year ago, and I just don't know if the same people are around.
Yeah.
But I will try.
Okay.
All right. All right. So I think that's, is that the update, Mark? That's where you stand? Yeah. Okay. Didn't wanna, I think that's a pretty good meeting for this week. I think Kerry and Ron Barron from CRMPC would like to attend next month's meeting to give us an update on where they are. So I'll add them to the agenda again for next month. Once we have the references, Bill will make them available, and then depending on how many there are, we'll figure out how to tackle them and give them a call, and then we'll take it from there. So it's just about 11 a.m. right now. I would move to adjourn if there's, unless there's something else you guys would absolutely like to discuss at this time.
I had one quick question, and I hate to even ask, Bill, do we have any update on Don?
I spoke to him about 2 weeks ago. He was doing better.
Ah, good.
Yeah, he sounded pretty positive.
Ah, good.
So, he's still convalescing, but things are going well.
That's
All
good.
right.
Good. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. All right.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'll second.
All right.
Yeah.
10:59 a.m. on May 19th, 2020. The Economic Development Committee meeting is officially done. Thank you very much, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Great
you.
seeing everybody.
Bye.
Good
Bye-bye.
seeing you.
Yeah,
All right.
bye.
See ya.